Greetings, family. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for reasoning with me once again. Today we are listening to and responding to a speech delivered by Prime Minister Mia Amor Mottley of Barbados, speaking at the United Nations General Assembly. This is important to say clearly from the beginning. This is not a protest speech. This is not social media rhetoric. This is a head of government speaking on the world's highest diplomatic stage. And the question she asks is one that many small nations and developing people have been asking for decades. Who sees us and who hears us?
Too many other major challenges. That's why I ask all the time, who sees us and who hears us? We continue to be confronted by problems of blacklisting, which pale into insignificance when compared to climate change, but which destroy our financial sector. The illicit flow of weapons, such that the ease with which people can go into public spaces and shoot and kill others is now regarded as just another item on the news because we promote profit in the manufacture and trade of guns and weapons, of non-communicable diseases that strike down our people in the most insidious of ways because we allow diets that promote the prosperity of a few multinational corporations to become the norm of the day with the food that we eat and the lives that we live. And in the case within our own community, Belize and Guyana continue to face challenges to their territorial integrity. I suppose people feel that because we have talked so long about Belize and Guyana and Cuba, that we can continue to talk about climate change and these other things, and that it is okay for it to be another tick on a UN General Assembly speech. These are all threats to our stability, to the people's stability in our lands. But you know, since last we met, there are other instances and circumstances, not of our making, that may yet destabilize us. And we say it over and over, but we ask who is listening. And you know, we don't come with tales of woe only. The Caribbean has produced excellence. It really has. Nobel laureates, sportsmen who have excelled and are the best in the world of their type, artists, the best in the world of their type, leaders who have inspired previous generations and current generations. We don't come here as a proud people asking for handouts. We don't want and will not be mendicant. What we want, no, what we need is fiscal and policy space. Fiscal and policy space to achieve sustainable development, to be nimble, to adapt, and to innovate in ways that allow us to be true and faithful to the task of bringing prosperity to our people, or as in the theme of this General Assembly, to eradicate poverty, to educate our people, to include all such that there's not some outside and some inside. We want an international order equally that recognizes that there must be different policy prescriptions to suit the circumstances that we all have. And we can still be friends, small and large, north and south, Christian, Hindu, Muslim, all different races, all genders. An equitable and just international order that is truly built on the principles of justice and fairness for all and not just for some. A United Nations that recognizes that as 74 years old we must be able to have difficult conversations as mature people and solve them. Many in the developing world were persuaded or required to abandon policies that were designed for the majority of our population to be transformed. And those policies were fashioned to adopt a consensus that was settled in Washington, D.C. and named thereafter. And that ultimately, regrettably, was about the consolidation of wealth in the hands of a very few. And that's why we have seen the growing inequality that we have seen in the world over the last few decades. That is why too many people over the world have become cynical about governments and about the benefits that they can bring to them. The fueling of the greed of a few threatens to undermine what little gains we have made since independence. And we judge ourselves harshly because independence is a recent phenomenon for us. Others who have taken 150 years to get where they have gotten are still stumbling and falling. And you want to judge those who have had less than 50 or 60 years to operate in a world that has not been made in their image and that does not reflect their interests. This is the fate, my friends, of simply too many. And Mr. President, despite our small sizes, the 14 countries of the Caribbean community have been able to play leadership roles of international import. I can't stand here today without talking about St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that has become the smallest nation of the world ever to be elected to the Security Council to sit on it. We are proud of them. In addition, and I want to speak to this, because when CARICOM was confronted with the unfolding situation in Venezuela, I accompanied the then chairman of CARICOM, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, to meet in this building with the UN Secretary General in January of this year. And we met with many delegations, and some said we were wasting our time, and some said the time for talk was already over. And we said then, as we say almost 9 months later, the time for dialogue, the time for talk, my friends, can never be over in a world that wants peace and prosperity. We don't take sides, but what we know is that you cannot propel war over dialogue. The people of Venezuela must be allowed to decide their own future in accordance with the principles of the United Nations Charter. Principles of non-intervention, non-interference, prohibition of the threat or use of force, respect for the rule of law, human rights, and democracy. It is regrettable that other multilateral organizations have not followed their own charters. And that is what makes the actions of our Secretary General of the UN more laudable, for refusing to breach his own charter and take actions even though member states have hurled into the recognition of those unelected. Our Caribbean Sea must remain a zone of peace, and for that we shall fight. Mr. President, I speak plainly and without fear, because from independence, Barbados' foreign policy has been premised on the simple principle of friends of all, satellites of none. Barbados, therefore, has always remained and will remain proud to have Cuba as a treasured friend.
Don't think you're gonna come and sell our resources again for cheap, for us to sit down and welcome you the next 4 years. It's not gonna happen. The people are awake. A huge change is about to come, people. So, as politicians, if you think you have power, I am telling you, if 10 million people come together, it's over for you, okay? We are going to get in contact with the military, and we are going to beg the military to stand behind us because we need them. The militaries also need a change. They need to protect a government that is for the people, not a government that is against the people. African people, we do not want to be divided again. We believe in brotherhood and sisterhood, and we will stand for what is right. We do not care about money anymore. We will not accept any bribe from anyone to honor life for our people, to sabotage our people. We will not do that because we have realized that money is not everything. We have realized that you people are taking advantage of us. You do not care about us. You take your girlfriends to Dubai, to all these amazing places. You enjoy yourself. You see your people struggling on the street, sleeping on the street, cleaning the streets, working 24/7. And you know that they are suffering, but you don't even help them. Are you not ashamed, African leaders? Where is your heart? Where is the heart that God gave you? Do you have one, African leaders? The corruption is too much, please. Stop selling our resources so cheap. God gave us those resources for a reason. Africa is not a poor continent. The people are poor. The people are poor because of you, African leaders. Because you think about your pocket. And African people, please listen to me. I hope this message gets to you. Please do not vote for any presidential candidate who come and talk rubbish and tell you that he's gonna build road. I'm sorry, building road is a normal thing to do as a leader. We need a government that stands with the people, a government that cares for the country, a government that wants to see its people do well. We need a government that has the same common interest as us. Enough is enough. The embarrassment is enough. The racism is enough. The discrimination is enough. The tribalism is enough. We, the people, have decided to put our interests on the side. We have decided to put all this tribalism, religion, and all that aside. We have decided to respect each other's religion and respect each other's culture and come together with the same common interest to make Africa great. And if you, an African leader, if you don't have that interest with us, we will not vote for you. So don't you think in your skull that you're gonna come and tell us you're gonna build water, electricity, and all those nonsense for us to cast our vote for you. That is not gonna happen. And to the old government, the old leaders, please retire and go and enjoy somewhere with your wives. We want young leaders. We do not want any old man from the age of 70 to 90 to come in power. Please take a break. Go to Maldives or something. Go to Seychelles and have a break, for Christ's sake. African people, vote for someone who can help us. Someone who can take full control of the country. Someone who do not need any foreigners to support him. Someone who knows what he's doing. Someone who is fearless. Someone who is bold. Someone who is passionate. Someone who cares. Because it's 2024 and you and I are still suffering. It's 2024 and we are still divided. It's 2024 and all our people all over the world are struggling. So if we don't come together to do what is right, then what is the point to complain about racism? What is the point to complain about discrimination? What is the point to complain about corruption? It is not the government to do anything for us. It's us, the people, that need to stand up against these corrupt leaders and march on the street for them to know that, hey, we are united and you cannot break us. Guys, if you take a stick and you can easily break it, but if you put 20, 30 sticks together, you can never break it. It will be difficult. This is the thing I'm saying about unity. This is my point, people. If we unite, I'm not asking you to come and love me and say hello to me every day. But if we can have the same common interest to make our nation great, I think that we will be on the right path to a good future, to a bright future for our next generation to come and live like kings and queens that we are. And not to suffer like slaves, because that's what we still are. I'm sorry, but if you have gold and diamond on your land and you need somebody to come and take your gold and diamond and give you the owner 10% and they take 90%, are you still not a slave? You are, because you do not know the value of your resources. You do not know. African leaders, enough is enough. Congo, we are coming for you, Congo. Hold on tight. The people are going to march for you. The people are going to scream for you. The people are going to fight for you. And whichever country you are that is struggling, we are coming to be behind you, my sisters and brothers. That is how it should be. And if you are against this message, it means that you are not for unity and we don't need you around. If you think that you know that you are African, but you say you are not African, we don't need you around, sis. We're not gonna force anybody to be with us. We're gonna call the people that has same common interests as us. You understand? That is what is gonna happen now. So Congo, hold on tight. We're not gonna sit down for our people to go down. That is impossible. Anywhere that is suffering, any country that is suffering, that has our people there, we are going to support our people. And if you love the message that I'm putting out, please use your platform to continue that same message so that it can reach many people. Stop complaining, African people. Stop pointing fingers at the white man. The white man also wants profit. He's not gonna come and take your oil and your gold out of the ground for free. They also need their money. So if you want to make money, you need to build your own refineries. You need to build your own infrastructures. Okay? Thank you. It is time, people. Some of us are frustrated and we are tired. Enough is enough. And anybody who has something to say against what I'm saying, shut.
Prime Minister Mottley lays out a reality that is often ignored or minimized. Yes, climate change is an existential threat, especially to small island states. But she makes it clear that climate change is not the only destabilizing force. She speaks about financial blacklisting, policies that quietly cripple economies without bombs or headlines. She speaks about the global weapons trade, where profit is prioritized over human life, to the point where mass violence becomes just another news item. She speaks about non-communicable disease, fueled by food systems that benefit multinational corporations while devastating public health in the global south. There are not isolated problems. They are systemic outcomes. One of the most powerful moments in this speech is where Mia Mottley makes something unmistakably clear. The Caribbean is not asking for handouts. It refuses to be portrayed as mendicant or dependent. What is being demanded is fiscal and policy space. The freedom to design solutions that fit local realities instead of imported economic dogma. This is about dignity. This is about sovereignty. This is about the right to govern responsibility without being punished for it. Prime Minister Mottley directly addresses a truth many leaders avoid saying out loud. Many developing nations were pressured or required to abandon policies meant to serve the majority of their people in favor of economic frameworks decided in Washington, D.C. Those frameworks consolidated wealth into the hands of a few globally. And that is why inequality has exploded. That is why trust in governments has eroded. That is why cynicism has become normal. You cannot judge nations with 50 or 60 years of independence by the same standards as those with centuries of uninterrupted advantage. That comparison is intellectually dishonest. Despite their size, Caribbean nations have exercised moral leadership. Mottley highlights the Caribbean's insistence on dialogue over war, particularly in relation to Venezuela. Her position is clear. We cannot be imposed as policy. Dialogue must never be declared over. Self-determination is not negotiable. Declaring the Caribbean Sea a zone of peace is not weakness. It is a deliberate rejection of chaos as governments. The principle defines Barbados' foreign policy and carries deep meaning. It means cooperation without submission, friendship without exploitation, relationships without surrender. That is why Barbados proudly maintains its relationship with Cuba. History has taught Caribbean people what happens when resources are sold cheaply and sovereignty is compromised. And this time, the message is firm. The people are awake. This address matters because it restores balance to global conversation. It reminds the world that small nations are not insignificant. Developing nations are not incapable. The global south is not silent. Africa is not poor. The Caribbean is not weak. The people are not ignorant. The system is unequal, and silence maintains it. Prime Minister Mia Amor Mottley did not speak in anger. She spoke in clarity. And clarity is dangerous to unjust systems. And if this message resonated with you, share it responsibly. If you disagree, engage thoughtfully. But do not dismiss it. Because history shows us that when people begin asking who sees us and who hears us, change is already in motion. And thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one.